Hello and welcome to Haunted Montreal's Spooky Story Sessions. I'm your host, Holly Rhiannon, and today I'm going to tell you all about the Victorian ghost of Ste-Anne-de-Bellevue. With over 200 documented ghost stories, Montreal is easily the most haunted city in Canada, if not all of North America. Haunted Montreal is dedicated to researching these paranormal tales, and our channel brings you videos in both French and English every Saturday. Today's episode focuses on research we carried out back in 2018 into a strange Victorian ghost in the West Island suburb of Ste-Anne-de-Bellevue. She appears as a young teenager dressed all in white Victorian clothing. The adolescent spirit was spotted a few years prior to 2018 walking quickly down the main street, bent at a strange angle by two visiting women. Strangely enough, nobody else saw her walking on the busy street. But before we get into this story, please remember to like, subscribe, and hit the bell button so you get notified every time we have a new tale to share. And hey, if you're already subscribed, a big thank you and welcome back. We're so happy to have you here. Now, without further ado, let's get spooky. Ste-Anne-de-Bellevue is a sleepy suburb on the western tip of Montreal Island, featuring a quaint waterfront village that is rumored to be quite haunted. This is the story of an encounter between two visiting women and a mysterious ghost from the Victorian era. Ste-Anne-de-Bellevue exists at the point where two great rivers meet, the Ottawa and the St. Lawrence. Historically, for over 10,000 years before it would get its current name, the region was frequented by both the Algonquin and Iroquois people. When the French began colonizing the island in the mid-1600s, a Catholic parish was established in the area in 1663. About a decade later, King Louis XIV of France ordered the parish lands to be divided into seigneuries or fiefdoms for farming. One of these plots was granted to a man named Bellevue, and the parish was later named in his memory. The name St. Anne was added later based on a remarkable story. According to the municipality's website, in about 1712, returning from a nightly visit to the sick, Abbot de Breslay was caught in a severe snowstorm. His spooked horse went astray and threw its rider on the ice. Despite this unfortunate incident, a broken leg, and no rescue to rely on, he vowed to build a chapel dedicated to St. Anne. When he regained consciousness, he was astounded to find himself in his bed, unaware of how he had gotten there. From then on, he hastened to make every effort to fulfill his promise, and soon after, the first church known as St. Anne was built close to the shore. The village of Ste-Anne-de-Bellevue sprung up around the church and became an important river port during the days of New France, as the last stop for fur traders heading off into the wilderness. Following the British conquest of 1760, its importance continued with the timber trade as great rafts of logs were floated downwards towards Montreal Island. The village was incorporated during the Victorian era on April 18, 1878. It has grown slowly into a suburb since then. Today, despite having a population of just over 5,000 people, the municipality seems busier due to the presence of numerous students from John Abbott College and the MacDonald campus of McGill University. St. Anne's, as it's affectionately known, is also a popular place with tourists and locals from surrounding areas who enjoy its lively village and beautiful river views. It also has a reputation as being haunted, with several ghostly encounters that have taken place there. According to Cold Spot Paranormal Research, an organization run by Michelle McKay that specializes in ghost investigations, a woman named Mima contacted her on March 12, 2014 to file a report about a strange paranormal experience on the main street of St. Anne's Village. In the summer of 2012, Mima was visiting St. Anne's Village with her friend Brigitte, a tourist and ballet teacher from France. They were enjoying the small, quaint shops and narrow side streets, a welcome escape from the bustle of Montreal. Mima had only praise for the beautiful old village, writing that they felt as though they had escaped for a holiday to Cape Cod. However, as they were enjoying their leisurely excursion, it was suddenly interrupted after they emerged from a second-hand bookshop on the main street. Just as they were about to cross the road, they felt something strange behind them. Glancing back instinctively, both women witnessed a startling sight. In an interview with Haunted Montreal, Mima explained, "It was a young girl, perhaps around 10 or 11, dressed entirely in white, from the ribbons in her hair to the dress, which had a very old-fashioned appearance. White gloves, white socks or stockings, white shoes, and an almost blue coolness about her. She was bent forwards at a strange angle. She had a very determined outlook, as though she was being forced to walk by someone who was threatening her, if this makes any sense. It was so out of place on a sunny Saturday afternoon in the summer. She walked quite fast and was heading towards the bridge to take you off island, and Brigitte and I watched her until she was completely out of sight. The dress was not of this day and age, and at first we thought it to be some sort of fancy dress day or a party perhaps. Perturbed, Mima continued. The uncanny thing was that as she walked past quite a few people wandering the sidewalk in either direction, none seemed to remark on her or turn back to do a double take. Her arms were straight, I do remember, stiff by the sides of her body. We stood there watching, still thinking how eerie it was. We're both very pragmatic people, Brigitte and myself, but to see her stride in such a fast and determined way, really meaning business, seemed out of place, and the fact that no one took notice at all was of concern. Mima's car was parked across from the second-hand bookstore. They both got into the vehicle and began driving eastward on the Lakeshore Road towards the city of Montreal proper. About 90 seconds into the drive, they were both startled once again when they saw the same ghostly Victorian girl near a 211 bus stop at John Abbott College. Mima explained. We gasped because there she was, waiting on the edge of the curb, facing in the same direction, ready to begin this walk all over again. There was absolutely no way that she could have returned in that time from where she'd disappeared from view, truly. We thought of twins playing a joke perhaps, a psychology experiment from John Abbott, an explanation, but somehow it felt wrong. Her upper body was also bent at this strange angle, possibly around 70 degrees. Teenage boys lolling at the bus stop appeared not to see her at all. I had to drive on because of traffic behind me, but we could not make sense of what we saw that day. We never forgot this experience and cannot explain it at all. When asked who she thought the ghost might be, Mima replied, I looked up the history of St. Anne's and saw that there were religious buildings around in the 1850s or so. I spoke to my husband about it. He wondered if her dress indicated some sort of religious attire, possibly someone from the past in confirmation clothing. I can't think of any reason as to why she reappeared other than she was bound to walk the walk. Mima knew she would likely never forget her uncanny experience with the Victorian ghost of Ste-Anne-de-Bellevue. She explained, I'm not in the habit of seeing things that aren't there and always go for the practical, realistic line of explanation. This one, on reflection as I write, is still and always will be a puzzle. It was out of place, whatever it was. For posterity, she decided to submit her report to Cold Spot Paranormal Research and concluded her strange report with a final reflection. A good friend of mine was interested in these experiences and suggested that if it happens again, to say in my mind, go to the light. It won't hurt. I shall do just that. But the first experience was shared by two of us, and I honestly don't understand what we were seeing. The girl in white looked solid and substantial, and I honestly don't feel like having another episode at any time in the future. And I don't understand what we have seen, and I would like to know. Who the ghost might be and whether or not anyone else has spotted her in the years since remains unknown at this time. Only one thing is certain. The Victorian ghost of Ste-Anne-de-Bellevue is but one spirit in a cast of hundreds of apparitions that haunt the Montreal island and region. Are you a Montreal resident or perhaps a tourist who has had a strange experience in the Ste-Anne-de-Bellevue area? Have you seen the Victorian ghost? If so, we'd love to know. As always, we are interested in hearing your theories about what could be going on. Thank you so much for stopping by. If it's your first video, we do hope you'll stick around for the next one. We post videos in both French and English every Saturday. If you'd like to learn more about the organization founded by the talented Donovan King, it's all listed in the description down below, along with links to purchase tickets to in-person haunted storytelling tours. Remember to like, subscribe, and comment. We'll have a new video out for you next Saturday, but until then, stay spooky.